Welcome to this week's edition of New York Now. I'm Casey Seiler, editor-in-chief of the Times-Union, in for Dan Clark. New York's first primary election of summer 2022 is now behind us, and we are full steam ahead for the general election. It was a day of firsts. It was the first time that either major party in New York voted to pick a woman as their nominee for governor. That, of course, was Governor Kathy Hochul, a Democrat who's running for a full term after taking office last August. It was also the first time that voters have picked someone with Afro-Latino roots as a nominee for lieutenant governor. That's new Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado, also a Democrat, who will now run with Hochul in the general election. And on the other side of the aisle, we also have an historic ticket this year. Congressman Lee Zeldin would be the first governor from Long Island in more than a century if elected, and his running mate, Allison Esposito, is the first member of the LGBTQ community to be nominated statewide. And now the two pairs will face off in the general election in November. But first, we were with both campaigns on the big night Tuesday as the results trickled in. Dan Clark reports.
The field is now set in this year's race for governor. Democrats and Republicans went to the polls this week to pick their nominees in that race. And after a very competitive last few months, both parties now have a ticket for November. Governor Kathy Hochul beat off a challenge from two other Democrats for the party's nomination.
Are you with me? Because I'm with all of you. Let's do this together.
She rallied with supporters Tuesday night in New York City. Leading up to the big day, it was Hochul's race to lose, and she came through with 2/3 of the vote. She had a challenge for the nomination from two other Democrats. Both New York City public advocate Jumaane Williams, a progressive, and Congressman Tom Suozzi, a moderate, got less than a quarter of the vote each. Hochul told supporters Tuesday that she's the strongest pick for November.
Are we going to move New York forward, or you let the far-right extremists drag our state backwards? You tell me. I know the answer.
It's been both a long and a short road for Hochul. She became governor last August after former Governor Andrew Cuomo resigned over claims of sexual misconduct. Before that, Hochul was Cuomo's LG for 7 years. And before that, Hochul served a term in Congress, spent 4 years as the Erie County clerk, and was a town board member in her hometown of Hamburg. Now, she has her sights set on a full term as the first woman elected governor in New York.
I stand on the shoulders of generations of women. Generations of women who constantly had to bang up against that glass ceiling. To the women of New York, this one's for you.
And joining her on the ticket will be Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado, who won his own primary Tuesday with more than half the vote. Ana Maria Archila, a progressive activist, and former New York City Council member Diana Reyna, a moderate, each received less than a quarter of the vote. Delgado had just joined the race last month after Hochul's previous pick for LG was indicted on federal corruption charges. Before that, he served in Congress for 3 years and said Tuesday that's prepared him for this moment.
We need real leaders at a time like this. We need public servants, those who humble themselves before the people and actually care about the people.
Both Hochul and Delgado will now spend the next 4 months on the campaign trail in what could be a competitive election. Republicans think they've got their best shot at winning the race for governor this year in 2 decades, and they're banking on Congressman Lee Zeldin to win. He won the party's nomination Tuesday, getting more than 40% of the vote.
This is a rescue mission to save our state, and losing is not an option.
Zeldin was up against 3 challengers heading into the primary. Andrew Giuliani, the son of former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, came closest to beating him with close to a quarter of the vote. Former Westchester County Executive Rob Astorino and businessman Harry Wilson each got less than 20%. Zeldin rallied with supporters Tuesday on Long Island after the big win.
This isn't just a red wave. This is a common sense wave. It's a common sense wave that reaches out to everybody across this state, in all counties, in all regions.
Zeldin's nomination didn't come as a surprise. He was voted as the party's favorite at the state Republican convention in February. He's been in Congress since 2015, and before that, served 2 terms in the state Senate. And he has a background in the military. He's promising New Yorkers a new direction under Republican leadership.
We are coming for our state and our state's future because losing this race for us is not an option. Winning this race and firing Kathy Hochul is the only option in order to restore New York to glory.
He'll now go head-to-head with Hochul in this year's general election. That's scheduled for Tuesday, November 8th.